Sometimes when you open ChatGPT and try to use it and get good results, do you also wonder where $1 trillion of investment has gone across AI the last few years? Well, I do too. Working with AI can be an amazing process, but it also can be very frustrating. So today I want to show you how you can really easily customize AI tools to understand your business and get better results. One of the main frustrations that I had early on with AI was having to give it in the same instructions over and over again, maybe in the same conversation, or maybe I wanted to do the same thing I did 2 weeks ago, and then I have to find, okay, what did I tell it? What did it know? What process did we go through to get that final result? It's messy, it's time consuming. Fortunately, ChatGPT offers what's called Custom GPTs that really saves a lot of time here. So for example, every month I need to take timesheets from my team and I put those together in a summary so I can share with the client what we've been working on that month. And our project management tool that we use does a good job of tracking all these different times, but it's really messy and it's not concise. So I was able to build a custom GPT where I could just copy and paste all this really big data from my project management tool and our timesheets into this custom GPT, and it would spit out a very concise, consolidated summary of the large projects that we worked on that month for the client. That saves me at least a half an hour a month right there, just that one use case. Now you might think that a custom GPT might be difficult to set up, but really it's not. And ChatGPT has made it pretty easy for anyone to build their own custom GPTs. And I kind of want to peel back the curtain so you can see what the potential is, and you can see how you can use it for your own business. So what is a custom GPT? Basically, a custom GPT is a tailored version of ChatGPT with instructions that you've given it and context specific to your situation, your use case, or your business. So instead of having to give it instructions every time and it having to go, oh, okay, that's what you want me to do, it already has that in its memory. You can load up whatever you'd like to in its memory, and that way when you give it things to do, it already has that context in mind. All right, so how would you use a custom GPT? Basically, there's a simple process. You identify a repetitive task, something that you do a lot and has some clear parameters, right? Then you would write out some clear instructions and context. And then you would give that to ChatGPT, and then you would test it and refine it until the results, the outputs that you are getting are consistent and in line with what you're wanting. You will need a paid ChatGPT account to access this feature, and it's about $20 a month. So let's start with the basics. You could create a custom GPT that knows the basics about your business and your customers and your products. That way, if you need to create a LinkedIn post, or if you need to create some website text, or even just write a letter, you can use ChatGPT, this custom GPT that knows all this, to much more quickly create that content. You're not having to load up all that stuff every time. So for example, for most of my clients, I have a custom GPT that knows about their business, about their clients, about their products. That way, if I just need a little bit of content for their website, or I need to write a little bit of an email or a newsletter bit, I can just go to that GPT. It knows the general information about the business, and it can then help me without me having to load up all that information every time. So moving on from that, let's go to a more specific use case. For example, let's say you go to a trade show, and after you come back from a trade show, you did like I did the last time I went to a trade show, and I came back with about 80 business cards. And each one of those business cards represents a particular conversation that I had. And so as quickly as possible, I was going through and writing down my impressions, some of the things that I talked about with each of those people. And I put that into a spreadsheet, right? And I really wanted to follow up with them well after the show, right? So I created a custom GPT that understood the best practices for email writing, especially ones similar to what I wanted to write. And I was able to give it my notes from all the conversations that I'd had, and it was able to create customized emails for each one of those business cards based on those notes. I maybe could have used the general GPT that I had, but by using a really specific custom one that still understood my business, but then understood that it was supposed to write these emails, it did a better job of outputting exactly what I wanted. Now, the sky is really the limit for what you can do with these, so I would just like to show you how you set one of these up now. Okay, so we're going to be just demoing creating a simple custom GPT for this video today. And here's our interface, right? And if we open ChatGPT, we can go to Explore GPTs. This is where we can find other GPTs that people have built that are available for our use. A lot of interesting things in here. We can search, we can go through our own GPTs that we've created, or we can create our own, right? So when we click New GPT, it'll take us to this window here. And this is where we can have a discussion with it and create the GPT just through discussion. Then we can also go to the Configure tab and work on things manually there. So we've created this company called Green Door Manufacturing, and we have some information about this fake company, an overview of what kind of products that they provide, some of their values and benefits, their target audience persona, and things, the reasons why their persona, their audience chooses them as a supplier. And then, of course, some products, right? Products, description, unit price, and then different prices for different product breakdowns or quantity breakdowns, and then different prices for different quantities here. So what we can do is we can come into ChatGPT, and I'm going to do this really, really simply. So, and then I'm going to show you another way to do it. But I'm going to say, I want to make a general GPT that understands my business, Green Door Manufacturing. And ChatGPT will literally walk you through the process of how to create this. Green Door Guide, sure, that will be the name of our GPT. Okay, they will create a profile picture for you, and you can also just easily replace that with your own logo or something like that. Sure, that looks fine. Okay, so what specific goals should it focus on to better understand and support your business? Well, first, here's info about our business. And honestly, you don't even need to tell it this, you can just paste it in. It will update the GPT with this information that you've provided. Thanks for sharing the details. I've updated the guide to reflect your company's profile, values, and audience. So if we come over here to the configure, we can actually see what it's doing. So the name, the description, and then the instructions. So if we pop these instructions out, so here's where you can then make even individual changes here in the back end. Here's also where you can upload knowledge files. Instead of just pasting that in, we could have provided it as something that we have uploaded. So let's do that. We're going to upload the Green Door products and pricing spreadsheet, and that will be added to the knowledge base. If we come here, okay, let's try you out. So what we're going to do is now test it. So if we go here, we can see barn style siding is available for $350 per one, and then it's available for $330 for quantities over 11, right? So what I'm going to say is we're going to test it over here on the right where we have the preview. Create an email template. Let's say just write an email to a typical customer explaining about with different price points. Okay. So let's see if it got the price points correct here. No, it completely made it up its own stuff. Why did you get the price wrong? So now we've called it out on it, and it's like, oh, here's the pricing. So this is where you need to refine and test, right? So over here, we can say, always make sure that your knowledge base is consulted before an output is given. Pricing is especially important to make sure you get it right. And that is all in your knowledge base. So what you want to do here is you want to look for things that it's going to not know how to do correctly and make sure that you're tweaking it. Okay, let's create this. So you can do it only as me, only I will have access to it. Anyone with the link, so you can actually give that link to your employees to use. And let's try it out. Now we're going to see if it can give us some view GPT. Can you give me a quote for 3 doors and 45 of this one? So now that we've told it specifically to make sure that it's checking its database here, you can see that it gets the price correct for the colonial interior doors, $200 a door for less than for 1 to 10. And then the carved wooden doors, it gets the $480 price because it's more than 11. So now we'd have to do the math and make sure that that's correct. But now you, without giving it any further instruction, you're able to produce that. Turn that into an email to a typical customer with some of the benefits. And there you go. Thank you for considering blah, blah, blah for handcrafted doors. Here's the quote, blah, 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 with the totals already calculated. It's added this section, why choose us? We're sustainable, we're customizable, etc. Nice little email. So obviously this is just sample data. This is just fairly small sample set. That's all we gave it. And it's able to do that quite quickly for us, right? Put together a quote. We did have to make sure that the GPT understood to just not make up quote prices, but to check the pricing guide before doing that. And now we have a GPT that we can give to our team, right? And say, hey guys, when you need to write an email or you need to put together a LinkedIn post, for example, now write a LinkedIn post, imaginary, as if this customer bought this and already installed. And we're celebrating that sale. We take pride, blah, 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 blah. So this is kind of a very default type of social media post that you could do for that. And you could give it further instructions for how to write for social media. But it knows who you are, and you're not having to give it all that instructions over and over and over. So I hope that is helpful. So what's a repetitive task that you could create a custom GPT for? I'm sure that you can think of a few. I feel like just creating a few general GPTs that really understand your business, your target audience, your products is just a huge time saver because it already has the jump on all those topics. You don't have to put those instructions in every time. And then as you go along and start using it, then you can think of even more specific ones that you could create that could kind of work together with that one. Here's a few mistakes to avoid though, because even when working with custom GPTs, it can be quite frustrating as well. So spend some time fine-tuning your instructions. Don't rush the setup. Instead of loading up every possible document that you possibly can to the knowledge base, go through and condense those documents as much as possible. Stick to relevant, high-quality inputs in your knowledge base, and you'll get better outputs as well. Because if you can give ChatGPT focused inputs, then it doesn't have to look as far over all these different inputs every time it's creating its output. Well, I hope this video helped make sense of how to use ChatGPT better for your business. Hit subscribe for more actionable business tips like this, and then go to our website. We have a free guide there, building your 15-month marketing plan, linked below.